Okay, if you're an engineering student and you feel like you're just constantly losing the battle against those super long study sessions and never-ending distractions, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to break down a really simple but honestly incredibly powerful method to get your focus back.
But first, let me just ask you one thing. Can you focus, like really focus, for just 25 minutes? Because if the answer is yes, well, that might be all you need to completely change the game for how you study and how you tackle those monster assignments.
So, let's talk about a problem that I am sure you know way too well. It's what I call the marathon study myth. You know, this idea that you have to lock yourself away for 3, 4, even 5 hours straight to get anything done. But let's be real. It almost always just ends in total burnout.
And you can see the difference right here. On the left, that typical 3-hour grind, it leads to mental fatigue, procrastination, and you just don't remember half of it. But on the right, the Pomodoro approach, we're talking high energy, a fresh mind, and actual results. It's not about studying longer, it's about studying smarter.
So, what is this smarter way? Well, let me introduce you to your new favorite 25-minute focus tool, the Pomodoro technique. Let's dive into exactly how it works.
So this whole thing was developed by a guy named Francesco Cirillo way back in the late 80s. And the name? Well, Pomodoro is just the Italian word for tomato. Why? Because he used a little tomato-shaped kitchen timer to keep himself on track. It's kind of a great reminder that sometimes the simplest tools are the most effective.
Okay, so here's the cycle. It is so simple. First, you pick one task. Just one, like reviewing your AI notes. You set a timer for 25 minutes. Step 2, you work with intense, zero-distraction focus until that timer goes off. Then, and this is key, you take a mandatory 5-minute break. You do this 4 times, and after that 4th round, you've earned yourself a longer break, about 15 to 20 minutes. That's it. That's one full cycle.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds simple, maybe a little too simple. But there is some really solid science behind why these short, focused bursts are so incredibly effective, especially for complex engineering topics. So here's where the magic really happens. That 25-minute timer creates this little sense of urgency, which forces your brain to lock in. But the real game changer is the frequent breaks. They fight off mental fatigue and actually give your brain a chance to process and store what you just learned. And that's absolutely vital when you're deep in complex code or tough equations. Plus, it makes that dreaded task of just starting feel so much easier. All right, enough theory. Let's get practical. How would an engineering student actually use this day to day? We're going to map out a quick sample study session so you can see exactly what this looks like. Check this out. This is a real-world plan. So, for your first Pomodoro, you could tackle data structures theory. Timer rings, quick break to stretch. Next up, you jump into solving a few coding problems. Another quick break. Then, maybe you're writing notes for your AI class. The thing to notice here is that every session has one clear, specific goal. After 4 of these focused blocks, you get that longer break to actually relax. And just like that, you've put in 100 minutes of pure, focused work.
And once you get the hang of the basic cycle, you can start to fine-tune it. You can actually customize it to fit your own energy levels and whatever task you're working on. Think of this less like a rigid rule and more like a flexible framework.
So for example, if 25 minutes feels like too much for a task, or you're just feeling kind of low energy, try a 25 session instead. On the flip side, if you're really in the zone and 25 minutes feels too short, you could try a 40-10 method. The whole point is to make the system work for your focus, not the other way around. It's a tool, not a cage.
So, when should you pull out this secret weapon? Honestly, it's perfect for those days you just feel lazy or totally unmotivated. When you've got a huge project that feels overwhelming, you just tell yourself, okay, I just have to do 25 minutes. It is an absolute lifesaver for those boring or really difficult subjects, and it's pretty much essential during crunch time before exams.
But to make it really work, you have to avoid a few common traps. The biggest one? Grabbing your phone during that 5-minute break. Seriously, don't do it. Your brain needs to rest, not get a fresh flood of information. Also, don't skip the breaks. I know, it's tempting when you feel like you have momentum, but they're not optional. They're what prevents burnout. And lastly, always start a session with one clear, specific goal.
All right, we've gone through the what, the why, and the how. Now it's time for the most important part, turning all this talk into action. Let's make this real with a simple challenge you can do right now.
So here it is. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, just one. Complete a single, 25-minute fully focused Pomodoro session today. That's it. Pick a task you've been putting off, set a timer, and just see how it feels.
And as you're doing it, just keep this one idea in your head. Small, consistent blocks of focus always lead to big results.
So there you have it, the Pomodoro technique. If this little explainer helped you out, make sure to follow for more smart study methods to boost your focus and productivity. Thanks for tuning in.